Welcome to another VCV Rack video tutorial. In this one, we will model the Deopfer MiniSystem. Deopfer's website says that this is a starting point for other patches and it forms a classical synthesizer voice. If you want to have a keyboard synthesizer, do not want to buy one, this may be a starting place for you. Let's right click and get the MIDI connection from the core modules. MIDI 1. Select whatever connection you need. I need the USB MIDI cable. Now let's get the audio from the core modules. Again, let's select what we need. I need direct sound and default devices for my Windows system. Now let's add a noise output. There are a number of noise plugins for VCV Rack. I'm going to select one from Bogaudio. Let's scroll down to Bogaudio's folder. It's just called Noise. Noise source. White noise here is the most common thing you'll find in plugins for VCV Rack and actually the hardware for Eurorack. What white noise is it has an equal power across all of the frequencies. Now, if you look, there's a blue noise. It has power and energy which increases as the frequency increases. You see a pink noise. Each octave contains the same amount of energy, so the power density decreases about 3 decibels per octave. The red noise is a lot like the pink noise, except the power density decreases about 6 dB per octave. The Gaussian noise is distributed via the normal R Gaussian distribution. In this model, we're going to use the red noise because that's what Deopfer has specified. Before adding other noise sources, let's add the shapers and controllers. Let's add an ADSR. You remember that. It's an attack, decay, sustain, relief. It's in the fundamental folder. Let's add VCA from fundamental again. VCA 1. Let's add a VCF, or a voltage controlled filter. VCF. A filter controls the frequency of a source, a noise source. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Let's get a mixer from fundamental. The mixer allows you to mix various noise signals or other signals and output them all together. We'll wire those up. Red noise will go to the input 1 of the mixer. Let's go ahead and put the level up all the way for the mixer. Let's take the mix output and drag it to input to the filter. And let's take the LPF output and drag it to the input of the VCA. The LPF means low pass filter. What that means is low frequencies will pass through the filter, but higher frequencies, determined by the frequency knob, will not. There's also a high pass filter output, which is just the reverse. High frequencies will pass through the filter, but lower frequencies will not. For now, we'll use low pass filter, and you'll find that's used quite frequently in synthesis. Now, the output of the VCA should go to the audio output. Oops. Let's increase the frequency allowed through. We can lower the VCA for a moment. Let's make that stereo by dragging channel 2 over. Now we'll turn that off. Let's take the gate output from the MIDI connector to the gate input of the ADSR. Let's take the output of the ADSR to this control voltage, or CV, of the VCA. Now we can turn up the VCA, and we get nothing because I'm not pressing a key. I'll press one now. We have some noise. If I take the attack and move it to almost instant, I can hit a key and I get a kind of a slap or gunshot maybe. Can adjust that a little with the frequency. Can do lots of interesting things with noise. It's most often I use it for percussive type sounds with an ADSR, but it can be mixed, as we'll see with everything else. Let's move the decay down, see if that makes much difference in this particular one. If we move the sustain up, what happens? Not a lot. If we move the release up, that's going to make a big difference. An interesting thing you can try is to connect the ADSR to the frequency CV of the filter. ADSRs can control any CV. They don't have to be on a VCA. I wanted to show that. So if I move this frequency down here, what happens? Too low is what happens. Let's move it up a bit. We could, something like this. Move the resonance up. Move the drive up. You can get a lot of percussive sounds from a noise and a filter. Play around with it yourself. I'm going to remove that connection to the frequency CV because we don't need it right now. Let's now add a VCO from Fundamental. We'll continue to use those where we can. Standard VCO. We'll connect the MIDI CV, which we have not yet connected to anything, to the V per oct. And the saw to mixer in2. Saw wave to mixer in2. Now I can press a key. If I take away the noise, let's add a second VCO. Actually, if you hover over a plugin and press Control-D, you get a duplicate of that plugin, including whatever settings you have made. You can also do that by right-clicking. You see there's a little menu here. You can duplicate. Just for your information. Now, let's connect the CV from MIDI to this one. Remember, if we hold down Control and drag from control voltage, we can get another patch cord, and we're going to connect it to V per octave in the second VCO. And we're going to take this square wave and drag it to input 3 of our mixer. Let's test. As you can hear, I have a saw. Now I don't. Now let's move this stuff together. We're going to add one more piece, an LFO. That's a low frequency oscillator. It does not oscillate at audible hearing frequencies, but it does a very good job as a control frequency for many things. So that's in fundamental. We'll take LFO 1 and we're going to connect that to the triangle from that to the PWM input of the VCO number 2 here. That means pulse width modulation. You remember we have talked about pulse width of a square wave being changeable by this knob. It can also be changed by a CV, a control voltage. We make no difference until we turn this attenuator. But as we turn it, and if we make this faster, if you just hold the key down, you can hear the variance. Yeah. I kind of like that for now. We'll leave it. You can increase or decrease its effect by changing the attenuator here. What else do we need to do? We want to insert a ring modulator. I forgot that. Let's make room for it. We'll right click here. I don't know if we've talked about searching by just typing in what you want. I want a ring modulator. Okay, and the one I want is Ring by MSM. You can go to the MSM folder or you can just click it here. There are 2 ring modulators in one plugin. There really isn't a ring modulator in the fundamentals, so we'll use this. There are a number of free plugins that I encourage you to go look at in the plugin manager. Just if you click this button, you'll go to the plugin manager on the web. A ring modulator multiplies 2 signals, where one carrier, which is typically a sine wave, but could be anything, and the other is a modulator and could be most any other kind of signal. So let's wire the sine from the first VCO to the carrier input on the lower ring modulator. And let's wire sine from the second VCO to the modulator, or the modulation input of the second ring modulator. Now, this mix button allows you to stress one side or the other. Let's take the output, drag it to the input number 4 of the mixer. Let's lower the number 3 input so we only get the modulated sound. If we move the mix, and just for funds, let's put the saw wave as the modulator instead and see what impact that has. And let's take the square wave and try that instead. Note again, I right-click on this knob and it will go back to its initial setting. Let's move the square wave back to sine for now. And we are set with, we can play a tune. That's just with the modulated signal. What if we want to mix 2 sounds? Suppose, oh, I wanted to tell you, if you hover over these patch chords at the ends, they will get stronger colored so you can see where they go. I have 2 yellows here. One goes clear over to the noise. The other one here goes to the square wave output. The pink one here goes to the output of the ring. Good thing to know. Now, I want the saw wave, which comes from the first VCO, to be mixed in. Let's have less of this, more of that. Let's make it rougher with a little more, with a little noise. Let's make a little more grit. And perhaps, what is this? This is the square wave. Do we want to add that to it? Do it like this. As you can see, you can mix the 3 signals any way you wish. You'll get a different sound, a somewhat different sound. That's what this is all about. You can also use any of these control voltages to change your sounds. I could, for instance, take the saw wave from the second VCO and drag it to frequency modulation input of the first VCO. This is going to make a difference in 2 sounds. Not yet, because I haven't increased the attenuator. Let's see what happens when I do this. Oh, that makes a big difference. Every little adjustment makes a difference. We can change the volume. We could get rid of that and modulate, use the triangle to modulate the second VCO. Move its knob up. As you can see, there are many possibilities. Let's talk about an enhancement or 2 we could make to this. Then I'll let you experiment with the various outputs you can make. Probably one of the best enhancements for me is a reverb. Add a reverb to this will make it sound a whole lot better. Let's just right click down here, go to the AS folder, and take the Reverb Stereo FX. Very simple plugin. And now, give ourselves some room, and we can, this thing kind of scrolls a little fast sometimes. We've got the outputs now from the reverb to go to the audio, and we're going to take the input, the left input, and bring it from the VCA. Make that a little more visible. I'll change the zoom just a little. Now, what happens when I press a key? Let's take the decay and increase it. We take the dampening. If we make it all the way wet, so only reverberated sound is getting through. And then you can experiment with this. These two knobs, decay and dampening, really give you a chance to kind of model the size of the room you're reverberating in. That gives you a wider, deeper sound that is more interesting in my mind. You could also add a delay. There's lots of those. Now I'm going to leave you with homework. There is another MIDI plugin in the Core modules called ManyFour. It has 4 CVs and gates. That's because you can press 4 keys at the same time, and they will each send a CV and a gate through this. If you duplicated the rest of these modules 4 times, so you had 4 copies, and each copy had its own CV and gate, then if you took the output, instead of going from this VCA to the reverb, you would go to another mixer. Just take another one of these mixers, add the output to the 4 inputs, and then connect that to this reverb. You would have the ability to do 4 keys at once, up to 4 key chords. You might want to try that, see how it works for you. My name's Cyball. I hope you learned a bit from this. Maybe we'll do some more.